I was at a fairly crowded club in downtown Miami, Florida, with a group of co-workers celebrating someone's promotion. Nothing unusual about the night at all, up to this specific point in the evening. Around midnight, I got in the long line for the women's bathroom, phone out, scrolling to pass the time the way basically everyone in that kind of line does while waiting. A girl in front of me, maybe early 20s, turned around and asked, very calmly and casually, if I could do her a favor and hold her spot for just a second while she stepped outside to get some air. Completely normal request, the kind people ask strangers in bathroom lines constantly without a second thought. I said sure, without thinking twice about it myself, barely looking up from my phone. She never came back. Not in the roughly 10 minutes it took me to actually reach the front of the line myself. Not for the rest of the night, as far as I noticed afterward, glancing around the club a few more times, out of mild, passing curiosity. I didn't think much more about it until the next morning, when the local news covered a missing persons case, a young woman last seen at that exact club, that exact same night, matching the description of the girl who'd asked me to hold her spot almost exactly, right down to the specific dress she'd been wearing that I still clearly remembered. I called the tip line immediately after seeing the report, gave a full statement about the interaction, the exact timing, everything I could remember clearly from that brief exchange. A detective followed up with me directly a few days later, asked several detailed questions about her exact demeanor in the moment, whether she'd seemed nervous or rushed, whether anyone had been standing near her in line, whether I'd noticed her talking to anyone else before or after our brief exchange at all. I hadn't noticed anyone else with her at all that I could recall, which the detective seemed to find notable enough to write down carefully during our call. He mentioned, almost as an aside near the very end of our conversation, that surveillance footage from the club's bathroom hallway showed her stepping out of that exact line at the exact time I remembered clearly. But that footage from the exterior door she would have needed to pass through to actually get outside for air showed no matching footage of her ever actually reaching it. She'd vanished somewhere in the gap between the bathroom line and a door roughly 30 feet away, in a hallway with no other visible exits, according to the building's own official layout and blueprints. I gave 2 more follow-up statements over the following months as the investigation slowly continued. As far as I know, based on the last update I personally received almost a year later, she was never found, and the case remains officially open and unsolved to this day, as far as I'm aware. I still think about her voice asking me that completely ordinary favor. I think about it every single time I'm out somewhere crowded now, and I've started walking women I don't even know to their cars afterward if they're leaving alone late at night, just in case, even though I know, logically, there was nothing more I could have actually done that specific night. I was out with friends at a busy rooftop bar in downtown Denver, Colorado, a normal Saturday night out. Nothing unusual about the evening at all, up to this specific point. Around 11 p.m., my phone buzzed once with a text message. I glanced down at it, expecting it to be from one of the friends already sitting right there at my table with me. It was from my own phone number, my exact number, displayed clearly as the sender right there in my Messages app. A text I definitely hadn't sent to myself and hadn't even had my phone out for in the minutes before it arrived. The message read simply, "Don't go home tonight." I showed it immediately to my friends sitting around the table, half laughing it off nervously as some kind of prank, assuming someone had somehow spoofed my number as a joke, though none of them had any real idea how that would even technically work, or who among us might have actually done it. I tried calling my own number directly from a friend's phone right there at the table, just to test it out. It rang normally, went straight to my own voicemail greeting, completely unremarkable in every way. About 20 minutes later, still sitting at that same table with everyone, another text came through from that exact same number. This one read, "I mean it. Stay where you are tonight." I checked with my phone carrier directly the following Monday, genuinely spooked enough by that point to actually follow up properly through their official channels. They confirmed no outgoing messages had been sent from my account at either of those specific timestamps, according to their own system logs, and that spoofing my own exact number to send messages directly back to my own phone wasn't something technically possible through any normal method they were aware of on their end at all. I stayed at a friend's place that night instead of going home, mostly out of lingering unease, more than any real conviction that something was actually genuinely wrong. When I finally did go back to my own apartment the following afternoon, everything was completely normal inside. Nothing out of place at all. No signs of any break-in or disturbance anywhere throughout the apartment. But my downstairs neighbor mentioned, in a completely unrelated conversation a few days later, while we were both getting mail, that she'd heard what sounded like someone trying my apartment door handle repeatedly around midnight, that same Saturday night. The exact night I'd stayed away instead of coming home as originally planned. I've never gotten another text like that since that specific night. I still don't have any real explanation for how it happened in the first place, and neither did my carrier when I pushed them further on it during a second follow-up call about a week later. But I still keep my phone charged fully overnight now, every single night without fail, just in case, and I never fully silence it before bed anymore either. This one's not even really my story. It's something that happened to my friend. But it involves me directly enough, my own name and everything, that I've never been able to shake it either, even though I wasn't technically there for any of it. We were at a mutual friend's engagement party at a restaurant in San Diego. Pretty big event, maybe 60 people total. Open bar, the whole standard thing you'd expect. I actually wasn't able to make it that specific night. I was out of town for work. Told everyone weeks in advance I couldn't come, which pretty much everyone in that friend group already knew going in. About a week later, my friend Danielle texts me, kind of joking at first, asking why I left the party so early that night without saying bye to anyone. I told her, genuinely confused, that I wasn't even there. I was literally in another state that entire week for a work thing. She got weirdly insistent about it though, said she'd talk to me, or someone who looked exactly like me, wearing the specific jacket she remembered me actually owning, for like 10 minutes near the bar area, talking about completely normal stuff, work stuff, nothing particularly memorable content-wise, just the kind of normal small talk you'd have with basically anyone at a party like that. I sent her screenshots of my flight confirmation, my hotel receipts, basically the whole paper trail, mostly just to settle it once and for all, because she genuinely seemed pretty shaken by the whole thing, and I didn't love that she apparently thought I'd lied to her about something for no clear reason. She showed a couple or other people from the party my actual photo afterward, just to double-check herself independently, not really accusing me of anything at that point, just genuinely trying to figure out what she'd actually seen or thought she'd seen that night. 2 other people said, yeah, actually, now that she mentioned it, they thought they remembered seeing me there too at some point, though neither of them could actually remember having an actual conversation with me, just kind of vaguely clocking me somewhere in the room at some point during the evening. Nobody has an actual photo of this person, for what it's worth, which honestly isn't that surprising at a party that big, where not everyone's constantly taking pictures of every corner of the room. I've gone back and forth with Danielle about this whole thing, probably a dozen separate times since it happened, and she still, to this day, genuinely swears she talked to me specifically that night, not someone who just looked kind of similar from a distance, but me, specifically, having an actual conversation. I don't have any real explanation for any of it. I definitely wasn't there. I have all the receipts to prove exactly where I was that whole week, and I genuinely believe Danielle isn't lying to me either about what she experienced. She's really not the type to make something like that up. We just don't really talk about it much anymore at this point. mostly because neither of us can actually resolve it either way. And honestly, it kind of freaks both of us out a little every single time it does come up again. I don't know what she actually saw that night, or thought she saw. I just know for a fact it wasn't me, and I still don't love thinking too much about who or what it might have actually been instead standing there in my place.